Today's episode of Beyond the Mask is presented by the insurance specialists at Bright Think Wealth Strategies. Find the disability insurance coverage that fits you best right now. Email Robert Smith at rsmithjr@financialguide.com. The show is also made possible by the team at CRNA Financial Planning. Get a free consultation today to be guided through the complexities of investing and financial planning. Just visit crnafinancialplanning.com. We'd also like to thank Helping Hands and OSA EMR for their support of the show. And don't forget, listening to our podcast can earn you Class B credits. For more information on how you can submit them, check out the CE Credit tab on our website, beyondthemaskpodcast.com. Welcome to Beyond the Mask, Innovation and Opportunities for CRNAs, with Jeremy Stanley and Sharon Pierce. We know you spend your day caring for your patient's best interests. On our show, we want to care for you. Join us as we leave the operating room and learn the latest in the CRNA industry. Beyond the Mask starts in 10, 9, 8, 7.
Well, hello, Sharon, and welcome to the studio. It's been quite a while since you've been here.
Yes, you moved our studio.
Yeah, I like it in here.
Except I can't see out the window anymore like I used to. All I can see is you.
Look to your left.
I know.
You can see right out the window.
No, it's not the same. You got the great view. You can really look out.
You're just
That's
saying
the
that
view.
because I'm looking at you.
Oh,
That's what it is.
no. Because usually I'm on that side of the table.
I'll put you over
backwards.
here.
I feel backwards.
Well, I didn't want you to have to fit in against the wall, so, you know.
Excuse me? You know what the two most powerful words in the English language are?
What's that?
Excuse me.
Oh.
You know what that really means?
What?
You've screwed up, but I'm giving you a second chance. So, excuse me?
Huh. Well, I'm going to digress on that one. So, Sharon, we're going to be talking about some interesting financial things today, I think. And, you know, you say this to me a lot, actually.
Well, that narrows it down.
Why don't you introduce our topic today?
Actually, I would be happy to. This is called the financial therapist, and when it's okay if a visit to your advisor feels like counseling, because it is. I've always said you are a counselor.
Yeah, it really is.
There are only 3 things you ever argue about in a marriage: money,
Yep.
sex.
Can't help you with that one.
Yeah. Men never have enough of either, money or sex. And then children, when you have children.
I don't know that women have enough money.
All right. Okay. It's all good. But you do function as a therapist.
Yeah. No, and it really is. I mean, you know, especially in times like this year when the markets have been volatile and
Oh Lord, I bet your phone's been crazy.
well, you know, it hasn't been it's really not been that bad. You know what I find is a lot of people when things get crazy,
I ignore it.
they kind of they put their head in the sand.
That's
and
me.
you know what?
You know it's
That's
me.
probably the best thing to do,
You
to
know
be honest.
it's me.
Yeah. I mean, freaking out about it, if you've got a good plan and a solid plan that's going to get you there, the market's going to go up, market's going to go down, economy's going to go up, economy's going to go down. That's life.
Sure.
And you've got to make sure that you're positioned to get through it.
Right.
And if you've got a good advisor, they should be helping you do that. I mean,
And you do a lot of advisor between partners because, you know,
Yeah.
Pierce's idea of finances are different than my idea of finances. That's why I have money in a bank where he can't get to it.
are we supposed to say that on air? Does he know that?
He knows that. He knows only if I'm dead. Well, that might be a problem.
Yeah. But no, I mean, you know, I've had clients talk to me about things that maybe they haven't even talked about with their spouse. You know, I always encourage them to.
Sure.
But,
This should be premarital planning, honestly.
It really should be, because money can be such a detriment to a marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and how
I
people
agree.
feel about it, how they grew up. Think
Right,
about
exactly.
your dad, how he was with money.
Mm-hmm.
And if you married somebody whose family was very frivolous and spent everything they made, and
Right.
what a big dichotomy there is
Mm-hmm.
there,
Mm-hmm.
and you bring that into a marriage of somebody who's come from a fiscally conservative and sound environment
Right.
to somebody who's come from, hey, it's a free for all, spend everything environment. That can put a pull on the
Sure.
marriage.
Sure.
Yeah, because you're always competing internally with what you should be doing versus what your significant other wants you to do.
Yeah. And Pierce and I never had these conversations in the whole 3 months we dated before we got married.
The first 3 months you don't have these kind of conversations.
He didn't even know if I had a brain. I don't think.
Probably didn't care either, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So why don't we go down the path of talking about different scenarios that people can come in contact with that can cause financial issues and things that you've had to be a financial therapist for?
Yeah, I would say in this day and time, one of the biggest ones is people going through a divorce.
Oh, God.
Over half of all marriages end in divorce, and I think the statistics are if you get remarried again, it's like a 70% chance of divorce at that. So
We won't even go to the third and
oh
the
yeah, it
fourth.
gets even more. It gets even greater. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
sure.
nuts because I think you realize that, hey, I can just trade this one in and get another one.
Mm-hmm.
So, but divorce has so many ramifications on so many levels. It tears families apart, but it also can tear finances apart.
Mm.
And especially as people have gotten a little bit older, and then they go through a divorce. Think about it. I have a client that, he was in his late 50s, early 60s.
Young.
Very young. But him and the wife had been having issues for a while, and she decided one day she was done, and she walked out. And he was the main breadwinner, had accumulated a lot for retirement, which was one of their issues. He was a saver and she was a spender. There were a lot of other issues now that I've learned. But on top of that, he wanted to save and be able to retire one day. She had already slowed down working. She walks out the door.
With half
Guess
of
what?
his retirement.
She got 50% of his retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So his whole complete retirement picture changed. He went from, hey, I'm going to retire next year to, hey, I'm going to retire sometime later.
Mm-hmm.
He went from thinking that he was going to have one type of retirement lifestyle to having a completely different retirement lifestyle because he got half of the money. Think about it. You retire and you lose half of your money in the market. You think that's going to make a big difference for you?
Oh,
Absolutely it is. So going through a divorce, I think that's one time that in our profession that we're really helping clients work through that. What does it mean for you? Because all your financial goals and objectives have now changed.
Wow. Overnight.
Sometimes overnight. Yeah. I mean, in his scenario, yeah, it was overnight. They hadn't gotten along for years, but all of a sudden she decided that was it. And, and then what do you do, about benefits and moving forward on that front if the other spouse was carrying benefits?
I hadn't even thought about that.
Think about that. And what if you weren't working anymore and you were already retired and you enter this phase? Or what if I've got this scenario right now? Somebody who she works all the time and earns a lot of money doing 1099 as a CRNA. Husband never really did much. I'm not going to say what he did, but didn't earn a lot of money. And in fact, any money that he earned, he had manipulated his business to make it look like she earned it. And he had done this for a series of years. And she wasn't paying attention to the scenario. And now divorce comes. And he has no income, and she has a very large income. So you see where I'm going with this. They were married for 15 years, and now he is suing her for alimony, and he's going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't pay attention. Here she is married, making really good money, not paying attention, and he probably was designing this for several years along the way. And now she's on the hook for paying him alimony.
Wow.
So these are things that just happen. So, and guess who gets in the middle of that? The money guy.
Sure you do.
Because now, she's thinking, gosh, is it better for me not to work as much, because I've got to give him this amount of money. And then I'm like, no, you need to earn what you earn. And then you need to work through that, because you're going to be paying him alimony for X amount of years. And, but you've got to get your financial life back on track. Half your retirement's gone. A portion of your income is gone. Yes, every day, she said to me, every day I go to work, part of that day is for him.
Sure. Well, a really good girlfriend of mine, divorced after 25 years, and she lost half of her retirement in that process. And now she is at a point where she could remarry, but she says his debt to asset ratio is not good enough right now. And she's like, I'm not going down this path. We might be perpetually engaged.
Yeah.
But I may not marry him because I've already been down this path. I've got to be absolutely assured, and I don't want to take on his problems from his previous marriage.
Yeah. And
it's a lot to think about.
It's a lot to think about, especially in today's environment when, people don't stay together like they used to for a lot of reasons, multitude of reasons, some good and some bad.
Have you thought about what would happen if you weren't able to work for 2 or 3 years? On average, 25% of people will file a disability claim, and most of us aren't prepared for that loss of income. Every CRNA needs to protect their biggest asset, yourself, and your ability to earn with a disability insurance policy. We recommend contacting Robert Smith, a master disability insurance specialist with more than 30 years of experience and 1,800 CRNA clients, to find the coverage that fits you best. The best way to do that is to send him an email at rsmithjr@financialguide.com. That's rsmithjr@financialguide.com. Or call him at 504-394-6557.
So what's another reason?
Other times we hear from folks is when things are not going well in their career. Now, most CRNAs, they're going to make good money. There's a plethora of work out there right now, but that's not always the case. COVID. And this industry is cyclical. It goes up and it goes down. You've lived through it. You've seen it.
I have several cycles.
Yeah. And that's the way it's going to continue to be, just like the stock market and the economy. But when people are having career difficulties, or, something comes up where they're not going to be able to work like they used to, something physical, whereas, their left hand is not working the way it's supposed to, and that's their dominant hand. And, it's hard to work and give anesthesia with one hand these days, or their back and, they're not able to stand up, or, we've got one right now who's got MS, got diagnosed with it. And we know that eventually he's not going to be able to give anesthesia. So these are times that you really got to circle the wagons and find out, all right, what is going on? And it really does feel like you're going to therapy when they come in.
I bet.
They bring their stuff, and they're at this stage in life when they're scared. Now, obviously, if their health is failing them, or if the career is not going the way they wanted it to, that could be even a transition from going W-2 to 1099. Because that's a huge leap, as you know.
Yes, I do.
From being someone who walks in every day and you're going to get a paycheck and you get your benefits, to I'm going to jump off of that train. I'm going to go out here and try to earn more money and transition, but I'm responsible for everything now. And what if I can't find work? What if? And your brain starts to play that trick on you. Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of reasons on that front dealing with the career that people talk to us, and especially because we work with CRNAs every day, and we've got a lot of experience in helping CRNAs. They want to know what other CRNAs are doing and how they're handling these situations, and that's they come in and they take off their jacket and they get comfortable and lay down on the couch.
Well,
and-
you're kind of almost like your hairdresser knows everybody's
Yeah,
stories
that's
and
true.
everything, and a lot of people's
a
stories.
lot of people's stories.
Yeah.
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 Well, the couch is gone now. It's in
The
here.
couch is gone. Yeah. Nobody
your
can lay on it
office.
anymore.
The question I have is, do you still have your bourbon in the bottom of your desk just in case? You've called me before, and I'm like, I got to get in the bourbon for just a minute here, Sharon. All right. So tell me about some other things that may trigger you putting people on your couch. That didn't come out right at all.
We'll put them in the chair and lean them back. How
Yeah,
about that?
that's it.
But, a lot of people, money just in general stresses them out. And that is so true of our CRNA clients. I mean, it's funny. I was talking to someone today. He's down in Florida, and he goes, I'm really good at my job. I'm very technical. I'm very skilled. It requires a lot of mental ability and thought. And he said, when it comes to this money stuff, he's like, I just don't get it.
Right.
And so many of our CRNAs are like that. Not all, and I'm not trying to categorize, but, so many CRNAs, I mean, you guys are nurses by background. You never really had any training dealing with money and finances in school. And unless it's just your thing, you probably don't give it a whole lot of thought.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a lot of people, making financial decisions is tough, and they need somebody to kind of bounce those ideas off of, somebody who's done it before and done it a lot, having to make those decisions. And that's where, we come in on that front as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I can believe that. That would be me sometime. That would be me.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the medical problems.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you hear about a lot about that.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of that in and out. Clients come down with cancer, or they have a heart attack, get an automobile wreck. I remember years ago where we had a younger CRNA who got in a motorcycle accident and really messed up his hand, his dominant hand. And didn't have the proper disability coverage, and didn't realize it because he was young and didn't
Sure.
think he needed it. And, he was out of work for almost 2 years. And, I remember another CRNA who got diagnosed with breast cancer, and her
Mm-hmm.
husband came down and sat with me and were scared to death because she was the breadwinner. And he actually took care of the kids, and, they just didn't know what the future was going to hold, and just needed somebody to kind of help them work through that. Where's the money going to come from? How's this going to work if I can't go to work every day? And those are issues where, again, in what I do, you've got to have a lot of empathy with people. You got to have a lot of confidence in what you tell them.
Sure.
Because if anybody sniffs even just the slightest hair of non-confidence, you're dead in the water.
Or fear.
Or fear, yeah.
You can smell it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you've got to be able to handle that, and you've got to do it in such a way that you give that empathy back to them. You're on their side, but in such a way that what you tell them, they are going to take to heart and actually do.
So this is a sidebar. Knowing full well that this has a lot of psychology in it, and I know when you were studying for your, what is it, EIA, or what's your
EA.
EA?
Yeah.
Tell me what it is now. Don't make me guess.
Enrolled agent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they make you take any psychology courses? Is there a piece of that at all? I think it should be. But
Yeah, I mean, there is. It's really more.
you needed psychology help when you were studying for that test. I remember when you were doing that. But, I mean,
Yeah.
they should do that.
Yeah, and that is part of what we do in some of our training and our continuing education. When you get your CFP and Certified Financial Planner designation, there is some of that in there. But, dealing with the financial analysis portion of it is easy for us. I think the harder part is dealing with that touchy-feely side of it. And
Because a
some of
numbers
that
person usually
does not have that.
No.
They usually don't.
No, accountants, CPAs usually are
No, not at all.
the most boring people
Did you say that out loud?
outside of engineers like my son. I mean, there's a definite personality type
Absolutely.
that
Absolutely.
gravitates. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there is some of that training, but I mean, I always enjoyed psychology. In school, I took abnormal psych and thought that I would minor in psychology at one point. So I had an aptitude towards that anyway, about the way people's brain works, and I'm good at evaluating people
Yes,
and
you
kind of summing them
Better
up.
than I am.
Well,
I
in
found out
certain
the hard
instances,
way.
but,
So, how many times have I had to listen to you say, "I told you so," Sharon?
not a lot, Sharon. Not a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those are all things that, when you do go in and you're talking to someone about it, you need to have a comfort level with
Sure.
that person. And, you don't want to go to a new person and take all your clothes off in front of them.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, that's hard to do. So developing that relationship where you do feel comfortable, I think, is very important.
Sure. Absolutely.
Beyond the Mask is made possible by the team at CRNA Financial Planning. With almost 2 decades of experience, the firm guides CRNAs through the complexities of investing and financial planning. Schedule a free consultation today by calling 855-304-3748 or go online to crnafinancialplanning.com.
Well, we talked about kids at one point. I'm sure that kids can really put a hurting on your finances.
Well, they can. And, more of what we get is that parents aren't happy with their kids' financial decisions. And they want to change their stuff to where, their kids can't squander away all that they've accumulated throughout their lifetime. And, a lot of that, when your kids aren't doing well financially, innately as a parent, you want to help them. But on the flip side of that, if you see your kids making decisions with money and finances that you don't agree with or that you think are bad decisions, it changes the way that you plan. And we do a lot of that. I mean, I always ask our clients, I said, is one of your goals to leave your children wealthy? And no, what do you mean by that? I mean, and I've had a couple that have said, yes, I want $1 million, $2 million, whatever to go to my kids. Okay. That's different. Overwhelmingly 99.5% of our clients say, no, that's for me and my spouse or for me throughout my lifetime. And when I die, if there's something left, I want it to go to my kids. And if not, they're on their own. But if your kids aren't doing well financially, there are things you want to put into place to kind of limit the exposure that your money can have to them. And that's another big one that we see when people really start to tell you about the family dynamics, or you hear that their kid is a drug user.
Yes.
Or, just not living the life that you would want your child to live. And they've tried to talk to them, and it just has gone on deaf ears. And now they're wanting to rearrange some of their stuff to make sure that it won't go to the children outright. And there's a lot of things you can do, use of trusts and so forth to control that. But that's another time when they're really vulnerable and they're talking about their kids, whom most people love dearly, and there's this emotional connection, and you can feel that in with the client as well. So
That's got to be tough. I had a friend whose son had some drug issues, and because of that, they had gotten into a little bit of financial difficulties, and they were because they had tried to help the child,
absolutely.
and it had gotten to be a problem. So
yeah, I mean, I've got a friend who's gone through it several times. Son got mixed up with drugs and left for a while, and they put him in a facility and cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay for it. He did it a second time. They put him in another facility. He was gone for a while. He's now back out of jail, and they're contemplating a third facility. And you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's another scenario that could change your financial picture dramatically.
Sure.
Everybody wants to help their kids. Everybody's going to support them if they're sick, because it is being sick, and it's a costly endeavor.
Sure.
So Yeah, it's a good point.
Wow. And we'll talk about one other thing that can definitely affect your finances and your entire psyche. And what if you lose your spouse?
Yeah, and we see again a lot of that, and a lot of times it's not known, that this is coming.
Mm-hmm. And even if you know that it is, I'm sure there's
still a lot on the psyche side. But if you know it's coming, there's some things you can do to ease the brunt financially. But if it comes out of left field and that person was the one that sort of took care of everything financially, and you've got the other spouse that's left that knows nothing, it's good to have someone like me who knows the complete entire picture that can help her or him pick up the life and move forward without having to figure all this out on their own. And we see that a lot. Someone loses their spouse, and obviously that's traumatic enough, and then they've got to deal with all this financial stuff. It might be getting bills transitioned over, things that you don't think about.
Right.
The Duke Power bill was in Bob's name, and Bob's passed now. Changing over retirement accounts. How should I do that? What's the best way to do that?
Sure.
Are there any probatable assets that the spouse owned by themselves? Now you got to go through the probate process, which is a court procedure.
Actually, we need to do a whole podcast on this stuff because, you know that I learned a lot. My daddy was very smart, and he had taken care of pretty much everything beforehand, but it made me think about getting my stuff in order, even checking accounts, things
absolutely.
like that, and making sure, Pierce was beneficiary. And then what happens if he and I travel together?
Yeah.
And what if we both
Jump
die
off
at the
Lover's Leap
same
together.
time? Right, yeah. And so everything is fixed now. Every single thing is fixed
and then,
now.
and that's great. But, every few years you need to readdress that. Take a look at it again and dust it off. And, what's changed? Maybe somebody you named in your will or your trust, they're Johnny Rotten Little Appleseed now. Or maybe they've died.
Sure.
Sure. We're going through, a scenario right now with a client who it's the parents of this particular client. His mother is basically bedridden. They're keeping her at home. She doesn't walk. She can't go to the bathroom on her own. The father was there picking her up and taking care of her. The father had a stroke.
Oh, my goodness.
And luckily it wasn't too severe, but it's still, he can't move his left side real well. They don't want to go anywhere. So they're back at the house, and he's trying to pick her up and take her to the potty and, look after him. And this one, our client is only child. So, they've got duties that they've got to do now and help in that scenario. So, yeah, it's not always just about someone passing away. It's, what happens if you have kind of a lifestyle that is not the same anymore?
Right, like having your 91-year-old mother-in-law live with you?
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, you know that, right? 91? Is she 91?
She will, but she's getting,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know, man.
Wow. She's in great shape for 91 now.
And for somebody who smoked 65 years, and when I got her, she was on blood thinners, insulin, 24 hours a day, oxygen, in atrial fib, and now she's on one antihypertensive.
That is amazing. And if you guys need any help, Sharon can help you out with your in-laws.
Sandy Ouellette, every time she sees a picture of Helen on Facebook, she says, I want to come to Pierce home and be rehabbed.
Sandy will probably outlive us all.
I know, man, won't she? I hope so anyway. Because I don't want to envision a world without her.
Yeah, no.
So
those are just a few
thoughts?
Things. Yeah.
As you always say, wait, I'm going to do my Jeremy impersonation. Any concluding thoughts as we wrap this up?
That's good. I like it. I would just kind of encourage people, that when you have these types of issues come up, make sure you reach out to your advisor. Make sure you've got that relationship before you need it.
Absolutely.
I know a lot of people can do some of this stuff on their own, but nobody can do it all on their own. And having somebody there, especially as you age, As you age, you really need somebody there who's first and foremost younger than you that can kind of help you work through that scenario. And two, that's going to be there when and if something happens to you. And I think those are important, very important points. So that's all I got.
That's all you've got?
Yeah. Hey, Sharon.
Yeah.
I think it's a wrap.
I think it is.
Well, we want to thank our listeners for listening to Beyond the Mask with Jeremy Stanley and
Sharon Pierce.
Sharon, if they like our show and want to help us grow, how can they help us grow?
Well, the best way to help us grow is to leave us a review, but make it
positive. We know there's enough negativity in this world.
Absolutely. We're in the top 50 medical podcasts in the country, on the way to number
one, of course. Absolutely. We're already number one in the CRNA community.
We sure are. And thank you to everybody who listens
Absolutely.
to us.
We appreciate that.
We sure do.
It's our little way of giving back.
That's it.
That's right. Till next time.
It's a wrap.
As a CRNA, you spend years preparing yourself for this career, so we don't want to see you lose out on any of the income you've worked so hard to earn. The best way to protect yourself and give you the confidence that a major life event won't disrupt your financial future is through disability insurance. We've known disability income specialist Robert Smith for many years and have seen the work he's done with nearly 2,000 CRNAs over multiple decades. He can help identify any gaps in your existing coverage and fill those gaps by finding the best value on a policy. Contact Robert and let him know you heard about him on our podcast. Send him an email at rsmithjr@financialguide.com. That's rsmithjr@financialguide.com. Or call him at 504-394-6557. Protect your greatest asset as a CRNA, yourself and your ability to earn a living by adding disability insurance to your financial plan. Today's show is brought to you by the folks at CRNA Financial Planning, an independent consulting firm that offers financial planning services exclusively to CRNAs and their families. From planning for a child's future college expenses to building a predictable income stream in retirement, the firm is committed to offering you comprehensive financial services, customized to fit your unique needs and objectives. If you have questions about your financial future, get them answered. Call the team at 855-304-3748. That's 855-304-3748. Or go online to crnafinancialplanning.com.
Hi, this is Jackie Rolls, President of the International Federation of Nurse Anesthetists and President and founder of Our Hearts, Your Hands, a global anesthesia support community that takes donations to allow nurse anesthetists in low and middle income countries to go to educational programs, buy equipment, or textbooks. Your donations are tax deductible, and we would appreciate your support.
OSA EMR is a free anesthesia EMR developed by CRNAs that you can download and use on an iPad. Our nonprofit mission is to make sure that solo and small practice CRNAs can digitally record their anesthetics. To learn more, visit osaemr.com to download and consider donating to our cause. Remember, for CRNAs, data is destiny.
Be sure to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and anywhere you like to listen to shows. Also be sure to check out BeyondTheMaskPodcast.com. Each episode is posted there with a corresponding blog post, and we timestamp important parts of the episode to help you quickly get to the content you're looking for. Also check out the special series section on the site. You can follow along and catch up on the CRNA History Series, episodes specifically about political conversations in the industry. Or try the CRNA Personal Finance Series. It's all on BeyondTheMaskPodcast.com. And if you have a question for the show or want to be a guest, or even suggest a particular topic, fill out the contact form on the site or send an email directly to us at info@BeyondTheMaskPodcast.com. And lastly, let's take the conversation social. Check out our Beyond the Mask podcast Facebook page and Facebook group.